I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 118. This one's with PJ Alexander, and we talk about his journey from music to smart homes. It's a very, very interesting journey. I had known PJ from jazz and stuff back in the day, and recently saw about his involvement with smart homes with his company Purple Mouse Smart House, and knew I had to have him on. If you'd like to find out more information about PJ, you can find his website at purplemousesmarthouse.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Purple Mouse Smart House. We appreciate him being on. It's a great chat. We sat outside and smoked cigars, so if you hear some birds and hear some little ancillary noise, it's us smoking cigars and enjoying our time outside on a lovely summer evening. I appreciate him for being on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode.
I'm good. I've been listening to you, man. I know. I've listened to, what did I listen to today? Dave and the Primo Dopes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's how I get my first start.
Really?
It's with Jazz Celebration Quartet.
Oh, okay.
And so I know Dave very well.
Yeah.
But it was after the Primo Dopes. And I know Todd Steed, too. And I thought it was interesting to grab a couple different.
Yeah, I've known Todd longer. Todd gave me the best, this is going to sound self-congratulatory, but Todd gave me the best compliment I have ever received. When I was writing for Noxify, I interviewed him, but I interviewed him through email. It's kind of like before I knew him in person.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been following him for years, I asked him actually like in-depth questions. And he answered all the questions out the bottom. He was like, I'm not joking. Out of all of my years, this is the most thorough and thought-out interview I've ever. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. I will go, yeah, I'm just a nerd, and I've been following you for like 20 years, man. Of course I'm going to know about some things that you don't think about.
Yeah.
But yeah. They're wild. That was a weird interview because we had to do it via Zoom. I wish I could have gotten those three guys in a room together because it would have been, I think, totally different. But Todd cracks me up. I'm going to go to D.C., Baltimore, and Philly around July 4th for Lori. Do you know Lori Anderson?
Don't.
She's a musician and artist. She was Lou Reed's partner for 20 or 30 years.
Wow.
But she has an art exhibit in D.C., and I want to see baseball. And I had the thought, I was like, I'm the only one who would be. I was like, never mind. Todd and George Middlebrooks would be into that. I'm not the only one. Those two would be into that. But yeah, those guys, especially Todd. Todd's hilarious.
Oh, he's great, man. Love that guy.
Yeah. Although he is here in case he's listening. He is a Giants fan, and that's a major fault. That's a major fault.
I thought that he was a San Diego Padres fan.
Giants.
Is it San Diego Padres? Whatever Smoking Dave initials was.
Oh,
SD. So it was San Diego Padres, right? I thought
see,
he'd be
he's a
San
Johnny
Diego.
come lately. He changed his team.
No, that's not a fan. That's just a guy.
Whereas I've been a Dodgers fan since I was a kid, and I can almost rattle off a starting lineup from the 80s. Nowadays, I can't as much anymore.
Hey, I'm a unicorn, so I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And yes, I did say that quietly. But been super fan since day one.
So I went and saw a preseason game. Nobody was there.
Yeah, there were people there.
Well, it was very unattended. And my friend and I are sitting there. We're sitting really close. Like, I got us really good tickets to see the Tampa Bay baseball team when I went.
Rays.
The Rays, when my friends live in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So the plan was we'd go to Jacksonville to see the football game, then we go to Tampa Bay to see the baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I got us real good tickets to the Tampa Bay game. He got us really good tickets to Jaguars game. And we're sitting there, like, on the 50-yard line, 10 rows up. I was
Like about to go in for a third and short, right?
I was like, this is amazing. I was like, if they just look up here, they may put me in this game. I was like, this is awesome. And then we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, these very attractive 8 to 10 women sit behind us. And my buddy's, he's married, so he's just like, hey, single dude, turn around, shut up. You're not being a good wingman right now, man. And all of a sudden, one of them starts talking about all the players on the field that she has enjoyed company with.
Oh.
And then, like, so we're just sitting there laughing because she's actually talking, like, very detailed. And he and I are just like... And then she starts talking about how she's getting married the next day.
Oh, no.
We were just like, what is happening? At that point, he lost it.
Oh, we
Like,
had a
his
football
beer
game?
came out of his nose, and I was just like, I acted like I told him a joke. Like, I was like, oh, God, they're going to kill us. Like, it was hilarious.
Yeah, I've been, I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I was born there.
There you go.
And, my parents live there today. I left there to come to Knoxville when I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
I moved to Knoxville. My dad worked for the United Way, or YMCA. And it's a natural progression. His career was to come up here and to work another YMCA on the east side, right down from Austin East. And so that was 1982.
I grew up playing basketball there.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
Yeah.
up?
Now, our team was from Alice Bell, but we played at Eastside Y when Big Mike was there. Do you remember Big Mike?
Oh, I don't remember Big Mike.
He was the guy who kind of was the GM or whatever, but he was like had won the Knoxville Strongman competition like 3 years in a row.
Was his last name Hartsville? Mr. Knoxville?
I don't know.
So this is 1982.
This would have been 84 to like 90.
Yeah, right in the tail end. Probably,
Okay.
Brushed elbows there. I think I would have noticed any giant white men down there.
No. No, white man. Oh, you're talking about me?
I'm talking about you.
Oh, my dad. Yeah, my dad. Well, it's funny talking to people about, I was like, man, I grew up on the east side, went to Fulton. I was like, the amount of times I was the only white guy in a room was kind of hilarious. I was like, never, and I'm trying to think how I can say this. I never got called cracker or honky or.
Oh, hell no. Look at you.
Oh, no. No, I wasn't that big back then. But no, it was like I never felt comfortable or anything like that. So anytime anybody's talking race, I was like, well, you're an idiot because I was a white guy amongst, only white guy in the room, and I never got talked at. Never got talked shit. Like, what's wrong with you?
It's all about
Yeah.
People in I would say our community at that time, because I've had a very diverse upbringing. Part of it, everybody says, I'm from the ghetto, right? Yeah, I guess I had some time there. I didn't know it. I didn't know it back then. I didn't know it until I went back. And it was like, oh, fuck, what is that? All right, that's terrible. I didn't know it when I was living there. It was home. It was paradise, and you got graded and treated exactly how you were
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
kids like that. We didn't have the internet,
No.
cell phones, nothing like that. You worked, stood out in the yard, and it was what it was.
Yeah.
Probably the scariest thing was a white dude with a bunch of black dudes. Like, well, what's that guy doing? He must be very special.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my closest friends growing up, Damien. We're at Fulton. I pull up. My mom had an 86 Cadillac Coupe de Ville with a
Nice.
Bose system in it. And I pull up, and I was listening because all I would do was come home after high school if we didn't have practice and watch Rap City and Batman
Rap City
and
Freddy?
Batman the animated series. And so I would pull up playing like Rappin' Forte, and Damien leaned in to say something, and his cousin, who was younger than him, leaned in and was like, "What's this white boy doing listening to this?" Damien said, "Shut up. This is Jody. He's fine. Shut up.
That's
Jody,
it.
don't listen to him."
That's
I was
it.
like, holy shit.
And it's over with, right?
This is awesome. Yeah. But yeah, okay, so you came up here. Oh God, Eastside Y.
Yeah. Lived on Houston Street, right down from the Knoxville Botanical Gardens, and never knew it the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
All I thought about was that big hill that's where people rode wheelies.
Yeah, I don't remember it being that big of a thing when I was a kid.
At all. I never went up there, and
No.
I should have.
Yeah.
I only went to what we call Fat Richard's house, which is right up halfway, about third of the way. I never went to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
But that's where all the older dudes would take their 10-speed, which is a big thing, 10-speed and 12-speed. I'm an old man. And ride wheelies all the way up that hill, and that's how that was. But I stayed at the bottom of that Houston
Yeah.
street down there, and very fond memories there with my brother and
Yeah.
my siblings in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters?
I have one brother and one sister, both
One
younger.
brother and one
Yeah.
sister. Y'all moved up here, and you stayed up here.
Moved here from Jacksonville here, and this is a part of me that I didn't understand then, and that I think parents probably over-parent on now and overthink, but it didn't have any effects that were ill for me.
Yeah.
So I moved here from Jacksonville, Florida, which was Arlington Park. If you go there now, take a pocket knife with you, or at least something, a blade. All right, so it's not the best part of town. Didn't know it.
Yeah.
Didn't know at the time. Came up here. World's Fair was here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this place is great, Dad. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And so the first thing that comes back next year, it's not the World's Fair. It's the Tennessee State Fair. And I'm like,
yeah.
ooh, that's a little different.
Yeah.
But we were there at Houston Street, and he rehabilitated that YMCA and got fundraising, really poured some energy into what was called the Wise Men Club at the time, which is just a collection of gentlemen from the community
Yeah.
leaders, and then we would take trips to other areas to see how they were doing things to improve the community. So YMCA at that time was a staple of the community, like a barbershop or the church was, right?
Yeah.
And so he would use that, and I was always there at the Y, always there. That's why I know how to play every sport with a ball, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Dodgeball, kickball, baseball, softball, basketball, tennis, whatever.
Yeah.
I can play it. Soccer, you know what I'm saying? I was always there. And so we lived there for about 5 years, and then my dad said he had the foresight to have us a diversified upbringing in the 1980s. Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I'm saying that. We moved to Blaine, Tennessee
Oh God.
from East Knoxville. You hear me? Granger County.
Oh God.
Because he wanted some land and dogs and all that, and I was with it. And then I moved out there, and there's just some horses to the right and a dude named Wesley and his goat to the left. And that was a different type of shock to the system.
Yeah.
And I was probably about, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. But I adapted. I followed my dad's lead, and he always engaged people.
Yeah.
All right. It didn't matter what color or where you're from.
Yeah.
And that had to do with the World's Fair. There's all sorts of people
Yeah.
that stayed at our house. We were a host. And so there were people from
Okay.
Africa, Korea at our house, and just doing all kinds of stuff that we were like, we don't wash our hair in the sink like that. You're right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw my first pair of titties that week too.
Oh, nice.
Because I busted in, and a lady that was staying in my brother's room,
Yeah.
and I'm used to going to my brother's room, and she was not dressing and getting herself ready for bed, and I was like, bam, right there. Yeah, sorry, but I'm not closing the door immediately, right?
Yeah. Wait, bam, hold on. Okay, I took a mental picture, and I'm good now.
Right.
Oh my God.
So he had us in all kind of situations, which I carry with me to my children now. I want to immerse you in all sorts of situations. Okay,
Yeah.
From the high end to the low end to the middle, and you guys can figure it out. I'll help you. We'll answer questions. My dad wasn't as vocal with me with that, but he did it, and I realized it later in life, moving from the east side of Knoxville to Granger County.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and it took me forever to notice it too. And that grew up on the east side with parents and grandparents who are very open-minded and everything. And then my grandparents' house, the couple that lived across from them were Holocaust survivors that had tattoos on their arms.
Oh.
So I had to learn about that when I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And then the family below. Now, this doesn't sound... Anybody outside of the South may not get this. Family that lived behind my grandparents were Catholic and were hardcore Catholic, so I had to learn what that was when I was like 5 or 6 years old, because I was friends with all the kids there.
Yep.
Now, if you're outside of the South, you're like, well, what's the big deal? Southern Baptist grandmother.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
We're in that belt, buddy.
Yeah. So, and it didn't dawn on me until my 30s. I was like, oh, I grew up in a way that was radically different than 99% of the people I went to school with.
Yeah.
Or that I grew up with. They didn't have any of that. And I was very
no
lucky.
exposure, right? If you only know one way and you do that, then
Yeah.
it's not really fair to you, right?
Yeah.
And people parent the best they can, and so it's kind of passed on for what you know. So I think back on it, I'm blessed that was diverse.
Yeah.
At times I didn't like it at all, especially
Yeah.
moving to Granger County. I got in a lot of fights because my name changed from PJ to something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Politics, you start a fire.
All I'm thinking of is there's a guy, not to brag, but I worked at Taco Bell to put myself through college.
Hey, they're bringing back the pizza.
And Dolly is partnering with them on the
Really?
Mexican pizza. Yeah.
She's partnering with them.
Something. I saw it on Instagram.
What?
I was like, this is the craziest mashup I've ever heard of.
That is.
But I worked at the Taco Bell out in Fountain City, and one of the managers who became one of my friends grew up in Blaine. He lived in the trailer park next to the post office.
Yep.
And he had an uncle that he was a tobacco farmer in Blaine. And he was like, it would be 4 tobacco stalks and then a weed stalk, and then 4 tobacco stalks and weeds. So anytime I hear Blaine, I think about that guy and his uncle.
Oh, yeah.
Like-
Rutledge Pike on the way out there. We drove out there, moved all our crap out there in I don't know what year, but it was a Pontiac Grand Safari. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Gray with the red interior
Yeah.
and a full-size conversion van,
Oh God.
which I want to bring that back. I
Yeah.
definitely want to bring that back.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. Granger County, good God. Especially at that time, too, because it's the 80s, to where it's even... Like now, I was reading an article, this has been like 10 years ago, that was talking about globalization. It was talking about like kids in Iran not wanting to learn about their grandparents' recipes and food, and how globalization was kind of screwing them up because they were wanting to become more Americanized. And I was just like, yeah, that's bad, but it's also a little good in some places that are here.
Influence-wise,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got to be careful with history and how you teach it, so you should pay
Yeah.
those guys more.
Yeah.
Because it's how you deliver. There's a big thing right now with rethinking the way history is taught,
Yeah.
and how things are, and how they're recollected, what they're taught in schools, and there's a big to do about that. And I get both sides, but I'm on the side of you need to go ahead and talk about it,
Yeah.
and stop thinking about fourth place for your kids. All right.
Yeah.
Start thinking first place. They got all the information. Let them make the decisions. You guide them
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. There's I can't pull his last name. This was on Rogan before Rogan went batshit. He's got Daryl. Before, yeah. Daryl, I can't pull his last name. He's a blues musician that has converted thousands of KKK members.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I know you're talking
that
about.
That was one of the greatest interviews I've ever heard in my life. That guy was amazing. But he was talking about like Black History Month. He was like, I won't do away with it because you learn, what was it he said? You learn Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., and then the month's over. He was like, Black History is American history. You got to teach everything.
It's American history.
He was like, you can't have 28 days, which is actually in school 17 days. He's like, you can't do that to kids. You got to teach them.
You have to put some thought in your youth. If you think that's our most valuable commodity, which it is,
yeah.
Just look at who's being elected for offices, and it's happening for us. We're at that age now. I'm assuming we're close to the same age, and it's our people that we know that are in these power positions, and you're like, I know, I know that guy. Oh my gosh, let me go and get my house appraised again because, Or, but you want to have faith in that, and that it's left to the right people. So you got to give them the information.
Well, I keep fussing. I've got a lot of very creative and progressive thinking friends. They're like, well, we don't know if we want to have kids because, we don't know what the future looks like for them. And every time one of them has said that, it's like, please have a kid because your kid is the kid that's going to figure this shit out or it's going to make this world better.
If you're thinking that way, please have several kids.
I was like, yeah, because the dumb people are not stopping.
They're not. They are just dealing with it as it comes out.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right about that.
It's like, please have kids because your kids are going to be amazing and creative and talented. One of the women, we were DMing on Instagram about that, and she started crying. She was like, you had me crying. I was like, it's fine. It's fine. You all should do this. You're awesome, and your husband's awesome, and please have lots of kids.
Please raise another you.
Yeah.
Or have to influence. You never know how that's going to happen.
Because she lives in, like, the middle of Oklahoma, and she's a ceramics professor. I was like, please have more of you in Oklahoma. And I say that as somebody in East Tennessee. Like, please have more of you. Okay, so that was what your dad did. What did your mom do?
My mom was an educator.
Okay.
And so she taught schools, and that had a profound effect, too, because, there's a big deal about moving your kids from school to school. Really, we're not dragging parents, but we're really overreaching when it comes to our effect on kids and what they're going to pick up on. You never know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So don't think you got that much control over it.
Yeah.
So for instance, I went to every school in Knoxville in about 5 years.
Wow.
So I started at First Lutheran.
Okay.
Okay. Then I went to Sarah Moore Green.
Yeah.
Went to Green School. Went to Whittle Springs.
Oh.
And I think that was it. Yeah.
That was where I went.
And so I went I have all my yearbooks. I went to and I didn't realize the significance of that until I pulled all my stuff out, moving around like, oh, we're keeping that.
Yeah.
And then, I had my wife with me, and she's like, did you go to a different school every year? I was like, I guess I did. The thing is, it didn't affect me that way. I didn't have, it's not something that bothered me, and it's something that parents now are like, I can't do that. He's taking away from all his friends. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Has no effect on me right now. It has some effect as far as progressiveness, but I wasn't like, sad, and I just made friends, talked to people, dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on the kind of person you are. If you're a more
Definitely
personal person, then it's probably like, oh, God, no, more friends.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. What did she teach?
She taught second and third grade.
Okay.
And continued to work her way up at that time it was called the career ladder. Mr. Lamar Alexander instituted that, and she climbed that ladder until she became a principal.
Holy crap.
And they moved back to Jacksonville, so we moved from Knoxville to Chattanooga, where I went to junior high school. They still have that. They should bring that back.
Yeah.
You need junior high. You don't need middle school. You need junior high. And high school, and then I had the decision whether to go back to Florida or stay here in Tennessee.
Okay. Oh, I love telling the people the story of my dad. I was in the 5th grade, so I was 10. And he was like, all right, you feel pretty good. And I was like, yeah. I'm here, all this. He's like, cool. Next year, you're at the top of the hill right now. Next year, you're going to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Dad, for keeping me honest, like, all these years. Thank you. And then middle school, 8th grade, same speech. Oh, you feel pretty good, don't you? You're at the top of the hill. I was like, damn it. Can I not just stay somewhere? Or isn't it just one big hill? Nah, you're going to be
I was a
down the
nerd.
bottom.
I was a nerd all the way up until contact lenses were developed.
Hey, now.
And then I thought cool.
Okay.
That wasn't until I graduated high school.
So I was opposite in high school. I was the opposite of whatever the group was. I was
Yeah.
cool with every group, but I was like, the jocks thought I was a nerd because I was in college prep classes. The nerds thought I was a jock because I played football, basketball, baseball through shot put. They're like, no, you're a jock, and look at me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it would be the same way all around. Like,
But you don't have that mentality, yeah. I was a skater.
I was
in
a
junior
skater.
high. I
Yeah.
was a skater. Like I had the,
Yeah.
what do they call it? It was like the long sleeve, like
Oh yeah.
winter shirt that you'd wrapped around.
Yeah.
And I was big into skateboarding.
Plaid.
Really big into skateboarding. And that time, for a person that looked like me, that
Yeah.
was not common whatsoever. I had
No.
nobody to look towards. Steve Smith, maybe,
Okay.
back in the
Yeah.
day. But yeah, lots of things happened there because skaters were on edge there, and I kind of fault it to the rebelliousness of it. You know what I mean?
But skaters are usually pretty, like, inclusive, bring
They
it
weren't
in.
back then.
Weren't back then.
Yeah, there was still a part that was a little punk.
Maybe that's something that's changed.
Yeah, it's definitely changed.
Okay.
It definitely changed. But I remember some harsh
Okay.
instances. You
Because I
know,
always think of skaters like metalheads. Like if you go to a metal show,
yeah,
and
Thrasher.
you're in the pit and you fall, they will open it up to let you back up.
Yeah.
Like it seems as aggro as it seems, still like giving a shit about other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that has changed. Okay, so they moved back down to Jacksonville. Did you go with them?
I did not. I actually, I was a music major at that time. I was big into playing my trumpet, and even so, the fact I play that thing with gloves on. I was classically trained.
Okay.
All right, no jazz, none of that. It was straight legit, what they used to call. And so I played with the Chattanooga Symphony Orchestra, and I directed. I was a drum major, and that's what I was going to do. I was in love with it. I listened to classical music, and I knew everything about history and theory, studied it up and down. It was what I was into.
Okay.
And so I went to try it at Florida State because that was a
Yeah.
big music school at the time for education. That was the path that you had to take, right?
Okay.
You're going to make it in music, get an education degree so that you can at least teach. And then I had a bunch of people that I'd grown up with and competed against across the state
Yeah.
in Tennessee. And I said, all right, I'm going to Florida State. I went down there. It was great. They offered me more money. I had a Florida State tank top. I was lifting weights back then, so I had a tank top. I wasn't afraid to wear it. I had a roommate. I had a room. I was good to go. And then there was a director here at UT that came and squandered me away at the very last minute. And I'll never forget the trip that back then, this was post-Julian, if anybody knows anything about
yeah.
the University of the Pride Southland Band. This is his first year away.
Okay.
And so his predecessor came and took me, and he also drove a big Cadillac. We drove around and played a couple places, and I was dead tired one night at the end of this kind of audition.
Yeah.
But you didn't just go and audition. He drove around and you played a couple places. I fell asleep on him. And so what he did is he pulled into a truck stop and got facing a truck, turned on his high beams that was parked, right?
Oh my God.
Turn his high beams on, and then proceeded very slowly and jammed on the brake and goes, "Oh my God!" And I woke up, and all I saw was that tractor trailer and those high beams.
Oh God.
And then he just goes, "Don't ever fall asleep on me again," and hit the road again. I was like, "Oh my God!" All right, I'm coming to UT. Gave me some money. We came in through a class of trumpet players specifically that was extraordinary, I thought, and had a good time. So that's why I stayed here, and they moved back to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. So, and around this time, like, because The reason why I'm in graphic design is because there were only 2 computers in all of Fulton. One of them was in drafting, one of them was in graphic arts, the print shop. That's why I meant graphic designer. So in all that time, were you said nerd, were you into computers or into anything like that? Or it was all music?
It was all music.
Okay.
It was all music. So my nerdyism shifted to that, where I was totally into it. I mean,
Okay.
it's what I lived and ate. And, you know, even going to church back then, the joy I found, because church is not for young people. It wasn't back then.
No.
It was very static. And it was like, you know, people were like, why don't you pay attention? I was like, I mean, it just didn't,
Yeah.
it didn't connect. The only connection I had was reading the hymnals while they were singing, because they sang at Black Church, sang
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You're always singing, always taking up money. That's all we're doing. Get a little message in there. And so I would read, you know, the way it was in the hymnal book, and try to, you know, I would try to act like I was going to coordinate those different things. As it was written in the piano scores, there were lots of things to do there. And I was like, oh, they're going to do this chorus 6 times. I can just do that. Excuse me. So that's what I did.
Okay.
I tried to identify the theory and the resolutions in the music. That's what kept me
Oh, my God.
interested was the music. And I
Okay.
love gospel music. It is like Southern food for a musician.
Yeah.
If you go out and play jazz or rock or whatever, and you grew up in that part of the church, and you come back and hear that, it's like butter on a biscuit, dude. I'm telling you.
Whereas my grandmother's church was very stuffy and had to dress nice. But I also fell asleep on the pews every week, or I would sit there and eat orange Tic Tacs to try and stay awake or something.
They're not talking to us as little kids. You want us to be still? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're talking to you grown folks
Yeah.
about problems, and then where do you go for that? And I
Yeah.
understand that now. But as a little person, that's why they have the little youth thing now. You can
Yeah.
expect them to dress up early on a Sunday when they don't have to go to school and sit there and listen to things that they cannot relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. And also reading the Bible and the language of the Bible is pretty much like Shakespeare to a 6-year-old.
And
Like-
that's how they judge if you can read. I can read.
Yeah.
I just can't read that. I can't read that.
Yeah. I can't. What is begat? I don't know what begat is. Like,
It makes anybody sound like they can't read.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Okay, so college at UT, tight trumpet corps. So do you, I'm going to go forward, but I'm going to go backwards. Do you still keep up with the people that you went to college with and were in that group with?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the Pride of the Southland is, back then, it was a big 350 person
Okay.
just army.
Yeah.
Right. And so one thing that was good about being in the band before, as an incoming freshman, is that you're allowed to be on campus for 2 weeks before school starts
Yeah.
with a bunch of people who know what's going on. Right.
Yeah.
It was very regimented, but there was varying degrees of seniority within the band, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to get in your dorm room, and you got to familiarize yourself with the outlay of the campus, and made some good friends that I have continual partnerships with today. My
Yeah.
banker was part of that. I'm playing Saturday at this new Southern Skies Festival with
Oh,
a
yeah.
guy who went on to become an educator. He's coming back to play some. Those friendships stay there for a long time. Yeah,
Okay.
not all of them. It's 350.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
there is something to that old saying of "Just one time at band camp."
Whereas there are these 2 friends of mine, Richie and Greg. They're brothers. Richie's 3 years older than me. Greg's 1 year older than me. But we all went to Pellissippi for design.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking the other day, and it's like, I think the 3 of us in our design programs for like 3 years, because Richie was a year ahead of me, and then Greg was a year behind me, because they tried to go to UT first. UT's design program sucks. So sorry for your alma mater, but the design program sucks.
It's all good.
So they got essentially booted from UT's design program and went to Pellissippi. And we were talking, and I was like, man, that's 3 graduating classes of designers and we're the only 3 out of those that are still doing design, or that are even still around. Like, and how weird that feels. Like, it's the opposite. It feels kind of disconnected.
Yeah, I noticed that because, the music building at that time was really close to art and architecture.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was probably an afterthought, but it was very cool because there was a natural,
Yeah.
coherence there with the art people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the architecture people, because we weren't old enough to understand how cool that was.
And they were also always like over caffeinated, underslept.
Yeah.
Like always facing a book.
We were the only people that go back to those buildings after hours.
Yeah.
So you don't go to class at other buildings
No.
after class is over. We're the people, art and architecture,
Yeah.
and music, that get our work done in that building after hours. That's what
Yeah.
we like to do. We love to do that. It's something different about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a bridge there, and it was always a weird kind of like, hey, you speak Italian, I speak Spanish. And it's the same thing, but
Yeah.
pronounced differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That bridge was great.
Yeah.
That bridge was great.
Yeah. It's wild because on the flip side, a lot of the designers I'm friends with now went to UT, and they're still friends with their little groups.
Yeah.
And we found that so wild. It's like, man, it must have been like living on campus or something made it completely
Oh,
different.
there was, I've had some stories about the old music building. There was this way to break in that everybody knew about it. And all the people, when they converted from legit to jazz, would come and do their work at night,
Okay.
and there was a door that you had to put a little muscle behind, but it'd open, and you get in there and do what you needed to do
Yeah.
all night. And there would be other people from the other side of the building, across the bridge, so to say, across the tracks,
Yeah.
that were there like, hey, I'm still working on this design.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I can't get it out of my head. And goes past the lesson, right?
Yeah.
You can practice that stuff in class and they can teach you, but it ain't till you get down there and kind of find your soul, then you can work it out, right?
Yeah, because creativity is not a 9 to 5.
It's not. It happens when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you do that. Is your degree in music?
No, I never finished.
Oh, you never finished.
Never
Okay.
finished. I would say I had an associate's, but
Okay.
I went for classical music, and I had a split scholarship between academics and
Okay.
music. And then I discovered jazz,
Yeah.
and
You go into the lucrative world of jazz music.
yeah, so that was a great experience in my life that I love and to recollect this. But when I was auditioning back then, I don't know if you remember Billy Scarlett and a couple of key figures at UT Jazz Department. We had a very a good jewel at UT that we didn't know
Okay.
about. This is back in the days when you go to an old city and you could go from club to club and
Yeah.
listen to music with real musicians.
Yeah.
Bullfrogs, RT Lodge, or not RT Lodge, I'm sorry. Let's go back to Lucille's.
Yeah.
Manhattan's is what I was thinking of.
Manhattans,
Manhattan's, yeah. But I would carry my case down there and just go, and that's where you really got your, Jazz 301 at, right?
Yeah.
But I just remember distinctly, like, trying out for classical, and there was a couple of cats in there with sunglasses on listening. It was like, he's coming with me in the big jazz band. I'm going to convert him, right?
Yeah.
And so I started trying to play. I didn't understand it at first. It didn't jive with how I understood music theory to be. It was unorthodox, right? And
Yeah.
a little bit different. And then one day, it was back when I used to read books, ashamed to say, I picked up, the autobiography of Miles Davis, and I went down to Ravens on the Strip and picked up what I now like. I'm so far against was a bunch of collective records, right? Where they collect a bunch of tunes, they put out a record, doesn't really go to the artist, right?
Right.
And I picked up a bunch of those, and one of those was Kind of Blue.
Okay.
And as I'm reading the book, there might have been a bottle of Kentucky bourbon there as well. I started sobbing, like this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
The connection was made between where I was in the book and where I was in the album.
Yeah.
It just kind of synced up perfectly. And then at that time, there's not streaming, so you just take your whole diskette of discs with you, and I would go to the Jazz Auditorium, which is where they used to teach history of rock, which was a level 1 elective. Everybody went there, and I would spread all my stuff there because I broke into the music building, and I would play those records all night and try to mimic. Which is the first kind of lesson of jazz that's not written in a book. You got theory and you can do this on a certain scales, but if you try to mimic the inflections and kind of what's going on, and I did that all night. Matter of fact, they had to wake me up off that stage a couple times where I just had discs spread out and I was asleep, and they had to teach the next class at 9 o'clock. And I said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I will do this every night and every day, and I was very committed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many years did you into college did that revelation take to get to? Were you like freshman, sophomore?
That was the second year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the second year. Matter of fact, I was in transition because I was brought in and I was going to be drum major, but back then I was too young. I was a freshman. Clearly won the audition, Greg Glover. But they didn't trust you because you don't have enough knowledge.
Right.
And I understand that now because this Pat Summitt, Phil Fulmer days, like the band and the teams were tightly related.
Yeah.
So if you messed up, they would get really pissed if you
Yeah.
played over a certain part and they're trying to talk to their team. I remember getting the Pat Summitt stare one day, and I was like, I get it. She came over and goes, when I call a timeout on this side of the court, don't you ever play it that loud again. I said, okay. She goes, remember, we're here to play a basketball game, not to hear music. And I went, all right, I got it. I mean, and that
God
stare
love
was like
her.
I was on the damn team.
God love her. There were times in high school when when it was just Allen Houston was the only good player.
Yeah.
To where Dad would be like, can they not get Pat Summitt to come over and coach the guys? Because she's like, I think she could get them in shape and be a
That went on
kick-ass
for
team.
a while.
Yeah,
That went on
kick ass
for a
for pretty quick. Because they would be terrified of Pat Summitt.
We were terrible for a long time. I remember Allen Houston and his dad coaching
Yeah.
him here. Yeah, I wasn't here for Bert and Ernie or anything like that. But
No. I remember Steve, we were cruising around, I think it was like my senior year, and we'd drive around campus to try and feel cool. And we saw Steve Hamer walking back from a baseball game, and we stopped and got his autograph. And I still run into him now, and because he's tall and I'm tall, every once in a while he'll double take and look at me. And same thing with Fulmer. I've run into him where he's double take. Didn't play for you, coach. Didn't play for you, coach.
you are a guard in '97.
Yeah, I should start. What was funny is we would go and watch the football team because my dad and I have been going to football games together since before I can remember.
Yeah.
So back when it used to be affordable. Now I have to buy my own tickets, and it's like, good God, man, I got to sell a kidney.
It's a tough thing. And I do like football games, right? So, and I like pro and college. But there's one way to attend the game, and you got to spend some money to do it.
Yeah.
All right? So you're not going to go sit up in the nosebleeds.
No.
All right? You're going to get good seats, or you're going to tailgate your ass off.
Yep.
And I figured out the tailgaters, they never go in the game.
No.
They
no.
just, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so, yeah.
But there were, up until I was about 25, we would watch the team walk in.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how many times somebody with a clipboard would look at me and go, let's go. Like I was a recruit. And there was one time I was like, I'm 25 and bald. I'm like, there's no way I'm a kid. What are you talking about?
Should yeah, my parents are with me and bringing like 20 people with
I
me.
should have. Now, as an adult, I was like, I was an idiot. I should have
Yeah.
walked on in and been like, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Sure, I'm a recruit. Yeah. Oh, God. Okay, so UT, Jazz. Jazz took over.
Yeah, kind of blue. Autobiography of Miles Davis. Bottle of Evan Williams.
Okay.
Grieve Hall.
Okay.
On my knees crying
Okay.
because I thought it was so fucking beautiful. Excuse
Yeah.
my language. But yeah, it was, and I was like, light went off. And so I started doing that every day to try to understand, what had been, all right, you do this and you play this scale. It didn't click until those two things collided, and I got what jazz was, like how to sit and listen to
Yeah.
music. And most people are trying to discern when to clap. and I'm trying to listen to the overtones, right? If
Yeah.
you're really into it, it puts you in a trance, and you can't really listen. Try to put some Coltrane on and
Yeah.
just and listen to it without saying a word with somebody else. It's very difficult to do, and so I always wondered why I didn't understand jazz, and then I got it
Yeah.
right, and then that's what I wanted to do. So I started taking my trumpet down and trying to sit in. I went to Lucille's and Bullfrogs and Manhattans,
Yeah.
and I picked up with Dave from the Primo Dopes,
Yeah.
and he had a band called Jazz Liberation Quartet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, back in the day, they did a song by Jackass with a chainsaw, right? Oh, it was a chainsaw,
Jackal.
not Jackal, not Jackal or Jackass, but it was a chainsaw that they put into Night in Tunisia by Dizzy Gillespie. Ask him about it. Oh, it was,
Okay.
it was crazy. And this is at Flamingos upstairs back in the day.
Oh God.
Yeah. So you'd go, I don't know if you know how the song goes, but there's a big break there. It's like, I think it's 4 to 8 measures.
Yeah.
And then he'd whip out this chainsaw, and instead of somebody going, he would just go, and then, ask him about it.
That sounds about right.
And so they gave me a chance to play.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and I loved that relationship with him. It used to be a guy named Sean and Patrick back in the day, Mark. They let me play. Paid me $40, let me eat pizza and drink beer.
Yeah.
I was 19 years old. That's all I needed.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I had $40.
Yeah.
What do I do with $40, you know?
I'll do it for the pizza and the beer.
I don't remember how I got down there because the escort service didn't take you down that far.
Yeah.
So that was great. That was the greatest part. And then I got to sit and listen to people at Lucille's. I didn't get the chance to play down there.
I was going to say also this is a time when if you walked from campus to the old city, you walked through a whole bunch of nothing. Because
walked
downtown was nothing.
You walk
back
through
then.
the
Maybe up Summit
the
Hill.
square
Yeah.
that had tumbleweeds and an Arby's.
Yeah.
Now, the Subway was there. There was Arby's
on the
right?
on Gay Street.
on Gay Street
Yeah.
and like a
So-
Soul Man shop.
Yeah.
And somebody going,
Yeah.
and then you got to the old city. Yeah.
Crutch Park was nothing but
Nothing.
homeless people on drugs.
You did not go down there. I mean, it was nothing.
Oh. So when I was in high school, there were 3, I'm going to say girls because they were girls, and I was a boy at that time. They were kids in art class together, and we used to go to the Mercury.
Yeah, it was a
Wait.
Mercury before it was Preservation Pub. That's right.
Where we were horrendously underage. And I made that joke to a friend of mine. I was like, well, you know, they let me in because I was so big. And then a friend of mine corrected me. He texted me. He's like, nah, it's because they didn't card anybody at the Mercury. I was
No,
like,
it was-
I saw Green Day,
Yeah.
Operation Ivy, all of those old punk bands at the Mercury.
People don't realize that.
But it was-
we were on the circuit. We were
Yeah.
on the Chitlin circuit.
Those 3 girls would go with me because it was like they felt safe going with me at a time when going on Market Square was not this 93 to 96.
Oh yeah, there was the Mercury Theater and there was that Subway
Yeah.
or whatever it was before that.
And there was, I think Gus's was on the corner where,
Yeah,
but it was
there's
closed.
only like 2 places down there.
Yeah, it was closed. And there was an old blue circle around the corner that I still remember that sign stuck out on the side of the TVA towers.
Yep.
When you round that corner, there used to be a blue circle sign up there that I think it had been out of business for 15 years by the time we got there. But yeah, it was. So you're walking there, and it's like, well, hell, even the old city was dicey back then.
Had to have a knife or something.
Yeah, like we were talking about. I was telling somebody the other night. I went to Able Trade, which is behind where Postmodern Spirits and all that is, and got it. Yep. Oh, other side. Postmodern Spirits. It's a fabricators, metalworkers, woodworkers, and stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, man, when I was in high school, you could not walk under this bridge
No.
because you would get shot or stabbed or something.
Somebody, and it's not like somebody asked you for money. They would come and ask you for money,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you had to take a gang of people. Luckily, And that day I had a troubadour that I went with, and a lot of that turned out to be, the band I played with was like 12 people. So we would get out and there's just no threat of anything anywhere we go.
So fun fact, also at this time, I don't think I've ever shared this on this. I became friends with a guy that used to DJ parties in Lonsdale.
Okay.
And I would carry his crates for him. And I would carry his crates for him to the Underground.
Oh, I remember the Underground.
And he would play at the Underground, and I would be a 15-year-old kid. Talking about seeing titties. And I'd be a 15-year-old kid going, this is awesome. What is this place? Like, just freaking out. Like,
so there was the Underground, and there was...
the Boiler Room.
There you go. Oh, God.
The Boiler Room was no. When I had some friends that moved to town and moved into whatever those apartments are, and it was so funny. I went in there one night and I looked around. I was like, "Don't ever run a black light in here." I was like, "This is the most terrifying." No, like let me tell. I am not telling you stories.
It's so high on the ceiling.
Yeah, dude. You don't want to know. But yeah, so I would run around with that dude who was in his 30s. I don't even know how he and I got connected, but I would carry his crates for him. And it would always be funny because going through there, I think he had a little gun on him. Like he had a little 22 or something on him to where, and he just never got messed with. And I was like, and now as an adult, I'm like, oh, somebody probably tried to mess with him one night. And they told him to stay the hell away from that guy because he did not mess around.
Yeah, it's amazing because at that point of your life, what that meant to you, and you're like, oh, you guys are missing this. It'll never be like that again. I'm sure it's changed for the people that are here now, but back then there was a lot to do. The old city was the place to go for a lot of different things. There wasn't a dance club or anything like that. You just went down there for music, I thought.
Yeah.
That was our epicenter before it shifted to almost Market Square, right, with Preservation Pub.
Yeah, there was a thing, and I'm trying to remember what it was called because it wasn't Hot Saturday. Maybe it was Hot Saturday Nights where they would shut down the old city on the blocks, and all the restaurants or bars would bring food out, and you paid $5, and you would get to sample every place, and they would have a stage and music right by where Lucille's was.
Was that recently or?
This was 92, 96.
No, I don't remember that. And $5 would have been a lot back then.
Yeah, but it was like what was the place? BW3. There was a wing place where Urban is.
Was it Patrick Sullivan's?
It was Patrick Sullivan's.
I'm talking Patrick Sullivan's was there, but then it was something with the double deckers right there, right? The New Orleans style kind of. O'Hooligans or something. I don't remember.
I can't remember what it's called, but I remember.
It wasn't my speed. I never kind of.
Because that was the first place I think I'd ever had like crab and lobster from. Because they brought that out for $5, and I ate it. I was like, "This is disgusting."
You thought it was crab and lobster?
Yeah. Air quotes around it. But yeah, you could go around and we would go all kinds of places.
Yeah,
around
just walk.
there.
You get down there and you just walk around, and it was great.
Yeah,
there were probably some threats there that we were too young to realize, but it wasn't. Nobody messed with you like that,
No.
I thought it was a great learning experience for any musician at that point trying to learn what's going on. You had, Donald Brown, you had Mark Bowen, you had Keith Brown, you had Billy Scarlett, you had upcomers like Vance Thompson, right, who I happened to go to school with.
Yeah.
He was taken off to the stratosphere, right? You had Samurai Celestial. And I just remember going down there with my little green self going, what scale are you playing on that? And they were like, get the hell up out of here. Scale? We're playing music down here. Who let you in here? And you're like, oh, okay, let me go back to the...
Take your Bach and go back to go back to
your nice shiny trumpet with the gloves and go back up there. And, there was probably a sequence of things I needed to do before I got back down there. But
Okay, so you're going there and you're learning from people probably minimum 10 years your senior. Minimum. Right?
Yeah, minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I'm real young. I'm 19 years old at that point.
Yeah.
18, 19.
You're bouncing around. What year did Gran Torino start? 90.
We started in like 94, 95.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. It was a blurry summer. I remember, I tell you, I was competing in high school before making a decision to state UT.
Right.
And so we used to have competitions called All State East and All State and all that stuff. And I keep seeing the same person be 1 and 2. It was me and Scott Peterson, which is the other trumpet player in Gran Torino. Yes, I did say the other trumpet player. He hates that. But we were always good friends from the time me and my dad walked into Farragut High School from Chattanooga to try out. And we thought we were the stuff.
The kings.
And I heard somebody just break the walls, and it was Scott Peterson. I was like, oh, weird. I need some new underwear. The guy was just well above his time, and we became fast friends.
Yeah.
And I remember being in jazz and the All State and trying to you solo, and it's tried to solo, and it sounded like I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
It was like play a B flat scale over a Latin samba. It was just totally out of place. But we always were that close, and he didn't like it that we were even that close. And he always invited me to come up in the senior years of high school. Hey, come up and play with this band. It wasn't Torino at the time. It may have been, and I never did it because I didn't do that stuff in high school. I didn't travel, and I was a good boy. I was a nerd. And then when I got to college, I met a fraternity that changed my life for the better. I became an Alpha man, Alpha Phi Alpha, which is first frat out of Africa, the first historically black fraternity.
Okay.
Okay, and we had a house on 1810 Lake Avenue.
Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah.
Right, which is right across the street from Flamingos.
Yeah.
Which was the basement of the Flamingos is where Gran Torino was kind of formed.
That's where I had my first Guinness beer. Was in Flamingos
with
at
the
like
pool tables.
18 or 19.
Oh man, it was great, man.
Yeah.
So I moved up a bunch of dorms, and I settled into the Alpha House when I finished going through the process back then, and became a fraternity member, an Alpha man, and was sitting out, just contemplating, what you're doing with your life at that point. We're staying through the summer to try to get out of school faster or figure something out. We got a house, and I hear that sound that I heard when I was trying out for all these. I was like, what in the world is going over there? And I said, I'm going to get my trumpet and go over there. I walk over the next door, and I open this door. You got to crouch in. It was the basement of the Flamingos, of which, if you've seen Gran Torino, most of our guys are over 6 feet tall. Right?
Yeah, I'm also imagining Jason.
Jason and Todd and Scott, all over 6'2", like well above that. They're in this little hole with a bunch of rats and some Subway sandwiches, playing some music, and I was like, what are y'all doing over here? You could hear it plain as day. And that's kind of how I joined the band. And I reached back and grabbed a couple people, Dexter and some other people, and we just started jamming, and it just progressed from there, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever told you this, man. This was another music festival. When they used to do music festivals on World's Fair Park.
Yep.
It was in May. This was 97, 98, 97, 98. And it still cracks me up. Have you ever heard the band Fuel?
Yes.
They were a rock band that hit really big.
I do remember them.
Friday night, 5 o'clock, they were the first band to go up. And you all were like 2 bands later.
Yep. I remember one of my guys going nuts. I'm like, oh, it's Fuel.
And it was hot as blazes.
Yeah.
And I remember I think it was Sunday morning, the V-Roys played. Mm-hmm. And that's back when they were wearing their suits.
Yep.
And they got like 3 songs in, and Scott just looked at the audience and went, fuck this. And took off his jacket. He's like, it's too damn hot. What are we doing?
We're gonna
like
fall
Mick
out.
was just laughing at him. Like, this is so dumb. But it was like Ben Folds 5 played that night.
Yeah.
Bruce Hornsby.
Yep.
Junior Brown. I remember just bouncing between the amphitheater and the main stage.
See how cool we had it?
Back.
We had it cool. Hell, Dave Matthews was down at Flamingos before he became Dave Matthews.
Oh. It's funny hearing my dad and uncles talk about all the bands they saw.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh, yeah, we saw Alabama on Cumberland Avenue.
Yep.
In 1978.
That's how you got started. There was no internet.
No.
Right? Nobody had cell phones. You weren't connected like that. You had handbills and flyers, and it was word of mouth. You had to go to a place, 2 or 3 times to open for somebody for $200 and some beer and some pizza before you actually got your own headliner, and you just kind of worked your circumference on the way out.
Oh, yeah, that was how many bands I saw at the Electric Ballroom that were like, oh, yeah, a year later, they're being played on the radio.
311, no doubt.
Yeah. One funny one, the Black Keys, like, and then they never came back. They cracked me up, like, and even like Sundown the City. Like, I saw My Morning Jacket open for the Drive-By Truckers on Sundown the City, and I was just like, who the hell is this band?
Next thing you know, yeah.
Yeah, next thing you know, they're one of the biggest.
That's how
bands.
that happens. People don't understand it. You know, it's not the old days of radio where you go bribe a disc jockey to play you 40 spins a week.
Yeah.
You got to do the work. You had to back then.
Yeah.
And hopefully somebody heard you, right?
Yeah.
And then interject you into that other sphere
Yeah.
to take you. And when Grand Tour just never got there, or I don't think people knew what to do with us back then.
Yeah, because I always get the two names wrong. Galactic or Galaxy 500? Wasn't one of them, they had a horn section?
Galactic.
It was
out
Galactic.
of Louisiana, yeah.
So I think I saw them at Sundown the City one time
yeah.
opening for somebody. And it was just like, yeah, it was a weird time in that there was that kind of music, and then was it ska?
It was ska. It was
After
real
that,
big.
yeah.
And we were like, we don't do that.
No, that's not.
We don't do that.
We don't have people show up in zoot suits to dance.
Or
at our
just,
show.
you know, and it was either ska or like, you know, the 311 No Doubt kind of thing,
Yeah.
as I remember it. And the big thing was ska. We just didn't know what to put it, so it never happened. But it was a full belief of everybody in the band. That's what we were doing. And I don't regret a single second of it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing like that feeling of going for it, no matter what happens. If
Yeah.
you fail, and that's what I would say to anybody out there, if you feel that way about something, go for it all the way. Don't pussyfoot around it.
No.
Just pour your heart into it, and that way you don't have any regrets the rest of your life. You say, I did it, and I tried, it didn't work out. And define the word make it. We have a song
Yeah.
called Make It. What's making it? Selling out a bunch of records? Okay, people call that selling out. Well,
Yeah.
what's the object there? What is going to drive you and fulfill you? Did you pour your heart into it, and whatever happens at the end, is that good enough?
Yeah.
I think we did. We sure as hell did.
Logged a lot of miles.
Oh man, we went for it, man. We were all about it and enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take it back for anything in the
Did y'all
world.
get to play overseas and stuff?
We never got to play overseas.
Seems like Europe would be big for you.
You know, it seems like a lot of things should have happened with
Yeah.
that band. And you know, I'm still open. Even when the movie Grand Tour came out, I was like, man, somebody can just grab one of those tunes and do it. But then I've tried to play again like that. Oh, it ain't the same. You can't go back and grab that time period. You just can't. It's good memories and good music, and we still play, you know, very infrequently, but you can't go back and capture that in the bottle and bring
Yeah.
it back here unless it's a recording.
Yeah. I'm gonna make Chris can't dance that way anymore.
Oh,
Like-
I mean, with me, you gonna get either the music or the dancing, but you ain't getting them both. There's no backflips and me shooting flames out of my ass anymore.
Oh my god. Okay, so did you do music full time there
I
for
did.
a while?
I did.
Okay.
That was my job. Never made a bed. Never stayed in a place more than 2 times.
Wow. So was there a point where did it just end, or did you like slowly hold on, I got to figure something out?
You know, if you study any band, people always have that question about why do bands stop playing?
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's a time capsule, right? You got to capture that lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
And you've got a finite time to do that. And even if you do that, the most successful bands in history have a unique way of preserving that time after time, right? There's not many
Yeah.
of them. But most have a lifespan, like a running back in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Bands are complicated, especially a big band.
Yeah.
They're very complicated. And so managing all of that with people in their lives, and then when you actually come back and see your peers doing other things, it tends to transform the way you think about it.
Yeah.
When we're on the road by ourselves, it's all about the music and the times, and
Yeah.
there was nothing like that, and that's what it was all about. But it does become taxing,
Yeah.
and at some point it transforms from being something you love to something that you have to do for money. And when that happened for me, I was done.
Okay.
Because I can do a lot of things for money. I'd rather do other things for money. I'd rather do this for fun.
Yeah.
And so when it became about, you gotta play this frat house for $10,000 before you can play this venue.
Yeah.
We were doing more of that because it takes a lot of money to keep 10 people on the road
Yeah.
alive and floating.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, in my perception, what happened. And it was,
Have you ever seen That Thing You Do?
yeah,
That movie?
yeah,
That was like the first movie I saw that point kind of clicked in my head.
yep.
It's like, oh yeah, shit can just end. Like it can have nothing to do with nothing.
Doesn't have to be. There was no big fallout. Nobody was trying to stab each other. It wasn't like that. It was just, and it's something we never discussed because you didn't want to talk about that, but it was evident, at the end that we were just doing it for money,
Yeah.
and there was no progress. Right, we weren't going up the ladder where we wanted to be and playing things for artist's sake or arts, focused things around the music. It was like to keep afloat, and I was like, I could go do some other things for money.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than I don't. Anytime you hit the stage and you don't feel like doing it, no, it's over.
Yeah.
You should always be excited, and I'm glad this way now. I don't get that many opportunities to play, but I was like, man, you take that for advantage. If you got an opportunity to play, you play like there is 10,000 people in the stands, whether there's 2 people out there or not.
Yeah.
Close your eyes and you go for it.
Well, I was doing a music website for a few years, Knox Bands, and I was in a lot of shows where it was me and one other person.
Yeah.
And we outnumbered all the people in the band.
Yeah.
And there were some bands that I don't care. I don't care that there are 2 people
That's
in the
right.
audience.
That's right.
We're going to play our asses out. And one of the best shows I ever saw, Mr. Self-Reliant was the name of the band, local band, upstairs at Patrick Sullivan's. And there was 3 of their friends and me and Marshall, who ran, 2 of us that ran the website. And they put on one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life.
That's what it's about. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It shouldn't, right?
No.
But it does affect you. You feed off the crowd.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people jumping and screaming, it's going to inevitably affect your performance to the good.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't also make you go downhill and put on a shitty show if there's only 2 people out there.
Yeah.
Those people are there, and it's that time, and you don't know this until later in your life that you're on stage and you're playing. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't last forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you have that moment, that realization. Were there things that had interested you that you were like, you know what, this is something I could get into, like doing for money? Were there different things, avenues that you were like, maybe if I did this?
Oh, and it was hard. It was hard for a lot
Okay.
of people. There was, your pressure from your parents, as a lot of us ditched school altogether to play on the road. We thought we were going to be rock stars.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah.
A rock star trumpet player. Who ever thought about that, right? But yeah, that's what we wanted to do. We were wanted to go for it, and people were enjoying it. We were enjoying it. There was not a reason not to do it, except for, your elders who were telling you this is not a very good move. You got to stay in school. You got to do this. There was always that outside pressure when you came up for Thanksgiving or whatever time you came. What are you doing? And you're like, hey, just
Yeah.
let's talk about something else. Listen to it, or you couldn't translate that vibe to them, right?
Yeah.
And so that wore on you. And so inevitably some of us caved to that. I was being one of those.
Yeah.
Went back to school, said, fuck that. And then you just kind of settled into things that you were good at. For instance, there's a lot of time on the road where you're not playing. The sound check is one of the most labor-intensive time things. If you have a show at 9 o'clock, you're at sound check at like 6 o'clock for 3 hours. And as a horn player, you get a little boop, and that's it. And you're at the very end. But you have a lot of time to do other things. And one of those things was playing around with the board and electronics.
Okay.
Right? Trying to find out how things work, what they're actually doing during sound check as far as the frequencies of sound, right? Developing that golden ear to try to, when you do get your option to decide what you want in your mix, to tell them exactly, the engineer in layman's term, what megahertz to adjust.
Okay.
So that was cool. And then the ins and outs, just like, that little device right there, XLR, how does that work? How does mini work? How does quarter inch work? what's on the board. And so we had a lot of time to do that. And a lot of us, a lot of musicians have made that transition from music to, which is usually 1, 2, 3, 4, to dumb that down to IT, which is only zeros and ones.
Do you know Ryan Schaefer?
Yeah.
Royal Banks. Like, he went from being a touring band to now he makes pedals for a living, and it's a complete. I don't know that he plays anymore, and it's wild. Like, but it's same thing. Like, he was so interested in like the computers and trying to figure out a way to do something with it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, this is what I'm going to do."
Everybody struggles with that
Yeah.
because you go from like, everybody taking care of everything for you.
Yeah.
You just go and have a party every night.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't have to make your bed. You're not responsible for your stuff. There's a guy that's going to make sure that the door you kicked in last night gets repaired. You just say, whatever, I'll play
Yeah.
better next night. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you come back home and it's over, and you're significantly behind your other peers in their careers, and they've got money and they got stuff to do. And you've been doing this and you got no money.
Yeah.
You got no collateral, you got no credit. You've moved, and the bills add up. I just move.
Oh God. Okay.
I just move.
Yeah.
I have to look at it, and then you have to deal with reality and where you are. And so there's a cycle of emotions that happens there as far as trying to right yourself. And a lot of people don't make it out of that.
Yeah.
Right. They turn to other things to drown those sorrows.
Yeah.
And they have a hard time. I had a hard time. I had another band. I had the Spades band. I had several other things. That time of night when the sun went down, I became alive.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a morning person or anything like that. So I was a night person. I wanted to still play, and that just became old. The older you got, and it was a Tuesday, and you're treating it like a Saturday night. It's just not.
No, I'm laughing because I remember talking to you one time at Cha Cha.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, we're playing this background for all these people. Then we're going to go up the road to 4620 and play the real shit.
play the
like
real
2
shit.
a.m. It was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah.
So we were searching for that, and you still like playing music, and you're uncertain. There's a lot of mental things going on there, but a lot of us inevitably fall back into the IT realm, which was happening with me. So I started working at a retail store on the business side of electronics, which was CompUSA, because I understood it. I understood how things worked, how they were connected. It was something I could do.
I've spent a lot of money at CompUSA.
Yeah, right.
Back in the day, yeah.
I built my whole book of business that way because I didn't realize at the time, but there were other integrators which I would progress on to that would come by CompUSA and use our services because they had fucked something up.
There's a
Right.
friend of mine who did that. He started working at the Apple store when it started. Then they had a business division, and then he was able to transition to his own thing.
Yep.
Same thing.
It
Of
teaches
like-
you slowly
yeah.
to come from people coming to you to asking you silly questions like, what's
Yeah.
USB? How's this Windows Vista work? What's Ready Boost? Simple stuff like that,
Yeah.
to actually developing a relationship where you can be a technology advisor to them. It's like, hey, what do you really got going on? What's
Yeah.
really going on? Why do you keep buying these cheap computers? I'll take your money.
Yeah.
But what's really you want here? Let's come up with a different plan for you.
Yeah.
And so I went from there when CompUSA closed down, which we were still profitable.
Yeah.
I stayed there till the last minute and actually got money to bring people over to where I was going. Went to another integrator where they just kind of threw you out there. They bought the book of business.
Okay.
And so I was on a limited time, and I struggled to meet numbers which were outside of my skill set, which is going to talking to business owners and
Yeah.
getting them to do other services and not just buy hardware, right? And that came to an end as the commission plan or compensation plan
Yeah.
became, the longer you were there, was unattainable.
Yeah.
I was like, at the end, I was like, none of you guys are doing this. There's no way I can hit these goals. And so I became very frustrated. Thought about starting my own thing at that point. Did not, because I was about to have my first child. Kind of made me cold feet there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of did some free agent stuff during the summer, and I was picked up by a company because they were wondering how I was able to maintain a big customer while I was unemployed. It's like, okay, he doesn't work there anymore. He was with this company, and how are we not able to secure that business? And he's
Yeah.
still buying from me, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about relationships, and that's when
Yeah.
it really clicked. And so they hired me to take their company from a printing company, Managed Print. You buy a printer, or I'll give you $100 a month, and I can print, and you'll come change out the toner and repair it and whatever. To an IT company, because he could see the writing on the wall back in 2010.
Yeah.
That people weren't going to be printing as much. Media was created digitally. It would stay that way. You would start sharing as far as printing stuff out. And so started building that just via contacts, and slowly gave him a plan of growth, whether it be project-based and slowly bringing on the talent or acquisition. And then it happened to somebody called me that was an old CompuSafe customer and started asking me an odd line of questioning. And I went, "Are you trying to sell?" "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, let's sit down and talk," because I saw an opportunity there to do it quickly, as opposed to me, because I was doing the selling and the tech work. I'd do the computer repair, I'd do the setup, I'd do the virus clean, whatever it needed to be done. Brought him in, developed a whole brand new company, and eventually that company, 12 years in the future, doesn't even do printing, and it's IT focus altogether.
Wow.
So that allowed me to do what I wanted to do before I had my first child, risk-free, while somebody else is taking the risk of investment and allowing me to secure vendors and partnerships, and here's who we're going to use for that, and here's the software we're going to use, without having to actually pay for anything.
It's always a good person to find.
Yeah. Yeah, I really cherish that relationship, learn a lot there. But my end goal was always the same thing. I wanted some ownership. I felt like that's the way I approached things before, and these transfer over from while you're playing your music,
Yeah.
And Gran Torino, we all wrote together.
Okay.
All right. It wasn't dictated to you what you play. We all got in a session and we started a jam, and then people would chime in from whatever direction, and that's how songs got written. Don't know if that's ever going to reproduce itself, but it was beautiful when it happened. When you got all day just to kick around with your boys and sit in the basement and try to write some stuff.
That's what kids like. Pearl Jam is a good example. Like when you hear like their first album, 10, was banged out in like 2 weeks, where they just got in a room and played together.
Yep.
And now it's like, well, we worked on this album for 3 years.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
a 38-minute album. I was like, you didn't work on it for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like you all noodled on your own.
And then you sent it to somebody, and they worked on it when they could. There's nothing that can go back to that time. Like
Right.
you can't tell a young person what it was like not to have a cell phone. They can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Right? If you wanted to know where everybody was at, you just walk down the street. Where are all the bikes at? Or it's just a neighborhood community thing. And now it's internet has given us favor, but it's also taken away a lot of things. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times you would call and plan to meet somebody and just hope they showed up.
Yeah.
If they didn't show up,
Then
you had no
you
idea
do-
why.
You know what? Leave a message they'll get later and read their messages, and
If you hope you had a quarter on you to use a payphone.
that's
to
right.
call them.
Yeah.
Okay, got into tech, so what led to, smart homes was something that I noticed that I'm always fascinated by, and I know very little about. But what did all that like tech work and dealing with people kind of individually and businesses, when did smart homes kind of really start coming up? So I think the first thing that I knew, it was always like a rich people thing. Like Bill Gates spent like $100 million fixing up his house to be a smart home.
Yeah.
And you would see on MTV Cribs or something where they had like a pre-iPad to control their house, but it was never attainable for Joe Schmo.
Yeah.
So when did that kind of enter? Was it kind of a slow burn into the fray, or was it something that all of a sudden it was like, holy crap, this is going to be a thing, I need to start getting into this?
No, I started probably about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
Myself. Just say, hey, I was moving to a new place, and I wanted to take a technology-first stance to it, even though it was an older home. And I wanted to pull the plug and start streaming. And I had we had some pains, right?
Yeah.
Going through that, wiring up a house, getting it ready, and just saying to the cable guy, all I need is that cable you got there.
Yeah.
I don't need your modem, none of your equipment. Just drop it on the ground, drive away, please. I'll take it from here. And and he's like, well, you can't call for support. I understand that. I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I did that on my own for a long time. So much that I had it where my kids were born and they started to adapt to how they interact in their house. It's second nature for them to talk to the house and not use remotes or anything. And so what threw my light off, I thought it was cool just as a hobby. But people come over and they hear my kids doing that and they go, what in the world was that?
Yeah.
How did you do that? I was like, oh yeah, we just asked Google or Alexa to play it on the TV. Didn't have any remotes.
Yeah.
My daughter doesn't know how to use a remote. My grandparents say, hey, just pick a channel. She goes, what's this? I just,
Yeah.
hello, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
When you started, was it still kind of more niche?
oh,
to have that?
it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
There wasn't the term smart home.
Okay.
There was just geeks like myself just trying to try things out, and there wasn't a whole lot of voice
Yeah.
stuff there. There was just streaming. All right, so it was big cut the cord kind of time.
Yeah.
All right, just give me the internet. I'll start streaming. Netflix was big.
I'm trying to remember why I did that. I have a digital antenna, HD antenna, in my attic right there because Sharps Ridge is right there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I get a great. I think I cut the cord 7 or 8 years ago. Like, I was like, it was like Comcast went up $60 in 3 months, and I was like, I'm out. I don't watch any of this crap.
Yeah.
I can just stream it on Netflix or
Yeah.
Hulu or something. at that
Absolutely.
point. Yeah.
And that's like, dating it because there's so many streaming platforms now. But that was the precipice. It was like, hey, we're watching most of the things we watch on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll throw up a antenna that's powered for the local stuff so we get news
Sports.
and sports.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Jacksonville Jaguar fan,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm a unicorn, and so I had to stream my stuff anyway. Actually, back then, Tennessee Titans, you got 2 games a year.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning's playing for the Colts, so there's 2 more games right there. So we got some of the games there, but for
Yeah.
the rest of them, I watch every game, and usually I don't sit down. I stand up in a linebacker like pose and yell at the TV because I think they can hear me. And it
They
helps
need
the
you.
team.
You're the 12th man.
It's just the way I do it. That's a whole nother podcast right there about the evolution of the sports bar and the ones that you go in that they don't let kids in.
Oh yeah. Skybox down.
Rookies.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh God, is the correct terminology there.
I have not thought of rookies in a very long time. A very long time.
I was there when they had the CRT TVs, like in the box.
Oh yeah.
I think I may have paid for maybe 1 or 2 of those because I was so upset. But yeah, kids did not go in there, and you could yell, but it was expected, So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I started doing that, cutting the cord. I started designing my house much in the way that my career had gone. So I was an account manager, then a sales professional, then the vice president of sales for a managed IT company, right?
Okay.
And what that is so you got a large company, you don't hire somebody to come in to do your IT, you outsource that to a company to fill all of your help desk and to help with a myriad of things. And I got used to designing those networks.
Yeah.
So they were solid and fortified. That's your cardiovascular system with the internet and how it's delivered through the house or through the through the corporate building.
Yeah.
And I started transferring that to my house because I wanted to be reliable everywhere. Those are the days we had a Comcast modem router, and it was just like they put it over here in some insane place,
Yeah.
and you expected to get it everywhere.
Yeah.
And the further you got away from it, you had to get closer to it to get signal. Well, I didn't like that.
And old houses like this where the walls are
Yeah,
so
concrete
thick,
or
yeah, to where it's like, well, I can't get on my phone in this corner because it has to go through 4 walls to get
Yep.
a signal. Yeah.
And so I started proliferating my house with wires
Yeah.
and powered digital antennas.
Yeah.
I was close to Sharp Ridge. This was Lakemore Hills, south side of the
Yeah.
river at the time. And just worked our way through that and started building from that to include smart locks,
Yeah.
smart lights, smart displays now, smart speakers, and incorporating voice control to automate a couple things for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I read one thing. It was talking about going to work and saying, "Did I turn my coffee maker off?"
Right. Yep.
Like that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that still I'm just old enough to where it's like, damn, that's wild. Like
it's coming.
yeah.
There is nothing you can do about it. When
Yeah.
you buy something, the next thing you buy will be a connected device.
Oh yeah.
And so I started doing a little research, and I was always searching for my own thing because I had risen to a level in my career where it was evident that I was only going to go as high as the ceiling, right?
Right.
And through many attempts, I tried to bolster that kind of position to say we should do this, and
Yeah.
and I should have some kind of stake in it. You know, although I was treating it the same way, I was not receiving anything but sweat equity.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't good enough. And so I started pursuing this, and then COVID hit. And so what's the smart thing to do during COVID? Is to start a business, one, and start a business that requires you to go in people's houses, too. That's the first smart thing I did right there.
Although that's on my list of like, but it seems like, because I remember early in COVID when TikTok first started really taking off, it had been around, and seen inside people's homes and all the stuff they were doing to their homes because they had time now to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So did it, even with those restrictions, did it still just kind of go crazy of like people going, hey, I'm home a lot more now. I need this stuff to work from home.
It wasn't so much people going crazy. It was, you know, a lot of people, I think COVID-19 will have a lot of studies, so much that it could be its own class.
Yeah.
In economics, psychologic, studies, psychology, just what people did during that time and what happened pre-COVID, what happened after COVID, right? Post-COVID. And so I started looking at it because everybody had a chance to like fucking be still, right?
Yeah.
Birds started chirping more, like, nature came back. I'm a big outdoors guy. I actually serve on a board for a nonprofit that we wanted to do a study to see, what effects the non-travel would have on it.
Yeah.
And in that study, I was quickly nominated as the fundraising chair. And I was like, the hell?
Yeah.
Now nobody can do anything, so all of your fundraisers are in person. They're dinners and parties and stuff like that. But I said, okay, everybody's going to be stuck at home online all the time. Shift your focus there, marketing-wise, right?
Yeah.
And that we had some success there, which broadened my perception to watch people's habits, which I never was like an economist or anything like that. I was just seeing that you watch the trend of people, all right, now I got the time, and include myself, to do things at home that I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I said. It's like, I have a farm. I got 6 acres. I got 40 animals. And I was like, what are y'all waiting on? Let's go home.
Yeah.
We're a technology company. All you need is an internet connection. You got everything you need. And the only thing you have to do is over-communicate because you're not in person, right?
Right.
Went home and started hand-picking like weeds, stuff like that, sitting down, glass of wine, let's just stuff that you always want to do. Paint a fence, paint your room. I watch other people do that, and you watch the trends. You saw people like Home Depot and Lowe's start to sell out, right?
Yeah.
They had a big boom. People started improving their houses. My wife's a family attorney, and I said, you better get ready. She goes, why? I go, well, people are going to fix up their house. They're going to buy a new car. They may move, and then they'll figure out, I don't really like you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that's another thing that could be studied, the divorces that I don't think she'll listen to this, but I have a friend that she had a girlfriend and they were together for a year or two before COVID. And she was like, COVID accelerated realizing that we didn't need to be together.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm grateful because it saved me heartache 5 years from now.
Yeah.
She was like that we weren't more invested and all this. She was like, we broke up at a time where I was like, holy crap, I'm actually lucky that this would have drug on for 4 or 5 more years.
Fascinating study. If you
Yeah.
go back, I guarantee you there should be, if there's still college at this time, right?
Yeah.
There'd be courses on the effects of the earth, the global,
Yeah.
okay, economy, psychology. What happened during that time? It's like warp speed, and so I became fascinated with that, and for me, the light went off as to I saw a gap in services between your IT company, all right, whether that be your guy or your
Yeah.
outsourced company, and the people who went home, because we always had to help everybody do whatever they had to do from home, whatever scenario they've got.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go up to the mountains and I want to do AutoCAD work, and I've got a freaking smoke signal and a carrier pigeon up here for connectivity, and you're like, you can't do it, and they didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I thought if I could bridge that gap,
Yeah.
which would be taking the knowledge that I have for technology to the home and bolster those homes to be much like a small business.
Yeah.
Because I thought then that people ain't going back. Once you settle in like this at home, you're not going back to work. Everybody's not going back. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, team. I've got a few friends that work for Team Health, and they decided in that time, even though they had just built that building at Weisgarber
Yep.
10 years earlier, they're like, no, everybody is remote from here on out.
That's
We
it.
don't need it.
They're not going back.
Yeah.
Forget the overhead. Real estate, I was worried about that. I was worried about my musician friends. They had no
Yeah.
place to play. They adapted to go virtual. But I just thought, I've been doing that anyway, a couple
Yeah.
days a week, and I thought, this is great.
Yeah.
You actually, if you work from home right, you actually get more done, and you're more exhausted by the end of the day because you don't have those constant workplace distractions to keep you off task.
And because you're working from home, you feel like you almost have to prove yourself.
Yeah,
a
that's
little
right.
bit
You
more.
go from task to task, and then you're like,
Yeah.
you look up, it's 4:00, and you're exhausted, and you
Yeah.
still got an hour to go. So I thought there was a need there to help. The way the smart home business got started for me was people freaked out about being able to go home and work and do remote learning on their infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like their little Belkin wireless access point, streaming like 4 streams consecutively. So I said, I know a way I can help you there.
Yeah.
We put in a smart home security device that protects all your devices, that curbs all the questions about, oh, who's looking at my cameras? Nobody. You got
Yeah.
a firewall just like a real business.
Yeah.
It's scaled down for smart home, and it's protecting your devices. And with that, I can route the traffic accordingly. Meaning, if you've got a call and you're on this device, I can prioritize that device over everything else, over Roblox or YouTube in the background, right?
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like a highway. If you think about 40 East or West or whatever,
Yeah.
pick one. So everybody's going at speed until there's an emergency vehicle, right? Everybody gets over.
Yeah.
That emergency vehicle is granted access. That is your priority line of business application.
Yeah.
All right, I got a Teams call at from 2 to 4. You're going to move over and let me have the internet.
Yeah.
And after that, you can go back to streaming music and
Yeah.
YouTubes and whatever your kids are doing and organizing that. And so we had a lot of success with that. And from there, which is also something we need to have a smart home. You got to
Yeah.
have a very fortified infrastructure to be able to accept all these other devices.
Yeah.
If you can't do it with like a couple devices, if you're going to add smart stuff, all of them use Wi-Fi or Zigbee or Bluetooth Low Energy, right? And you got to have an infrastructure that will accept smart doors, locks, video cameras. All these devices take a little bit of bandwidth.
Yeah, the amount of people I knew that installed the cameras and stuff was insane. And people like, oh, I'm on a wait list to get a camera because they're gone. Like they're sold out. The funniest was podcasting equipment. Like
Yeah.
trying to get stuff, like one of my mics went bad and I had to order a new one. And I was like, why is it $20 more now?
And then try to upload that file
Yeah.
and see what your bandwidth's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got 1,000 meg. That's down.
Yeah.
Now you
yeah,
got to
not
push stuff up.
Not up.
Yeah.
Yeah, even like installing a mesh system in this house because of the thick walls was like a game changer. Because I would be back in my bedroom. I was like, man, it keeps buffering.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because it's trying to go through 4 or 5 walls and it's trying to stream almost like not 4K, but almost 4K. And it's like, that's why that's not working, dummy. Like,
Yeah.
So I got a mesh system and installed it, and I was like, game changer. Like
Yeah.
phone, everything.
Game changer. We do a lot of those. And then, they make it so easy for you to install it that
Yeah.
a lot of stuff is not checked, like default, that can really optimize the system. Like, I bought this and it's still not doing what I want. Well, you still got 4 of the kids that
Yeah.
are on it. And even though you're not on a device, that device is powered on, it's still doing things, right?
Yeah.
For instance, one of the big things we curb is whenever a device detects Wi-Fi, it'll start uploading a lot
Yeah.
of data. And it won't do it on cellular, but Wi-Fi. Pictures from your weekend, so Monday
Yeah.
mornings are, boot storm
Yeah.
of just, oh yeah, I'm going to upload this because I'm back at my home network. And whenever I detect that network, I'll start uploading. So we just control that a little bit. That's how it started. And video surveillance, or I like to call it awareness.
Yeah.
Even when you're home the whole time, you still want the cameras.
Yeah.
That's what happened a lot with us.
Oh, yeah, because, like, friends would be working on their back deck, and they would have the Ring installed, and they'd be like, ding, ding. It's like, oh, it was UPS, or it's the mailman, or...
Yeah, who are you expecting?
Yeah.
They
yeah.
wanted to do it.
Yeah.
That's part of the home improvement, So we just tagged along with that and really became specialists in the automation and technology part. So even though the name of the company is Purple Mouse Smart House, which we want to make your house like you're living in, like Iron Man. We want
Yeah.
you to come home and ideally have multiple systems that are integrated into one ecosystem that you could speak to your house from wherever you are.
Yeah.
So it's an art form. You strategically place things so that you're not going, you're not directing your voice to a speaker.
Yeah.
It's just, there's one in every room. Some people like that, some people don't, to get it to do some common things,
Yeah.
right, that are easy to do. Hey, lock all my doors,
Yeah.
turn the heat up, turn the heat down. Good morning. Read me my curated news feeds from the news feeds that I prefer.
No, I'm just thinking of if I had that when I woke up in the morning, you're like, start the fucking coffee.
You can do that. Start your
But
coffee.
it would be so aggressive.
Start your car. We can turn those lights on
Yeah.
very slowly.
Yeah.
And all that just takes time. So we're in the do-it-for-me business. There's a lot of people that, I could do that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
You call me when you get frustrated. We are the people who invest the time, and that's how we make money,
Yeah.
right? Because it's time to set those things up because it's very granular and it takes a lot of time, more time than people realize. So we come in a lot
Or
of
on the flip side, I talk about this with design a lot. I was like, you're also paying me because I can do it in 3 hours and it'll take you 8 hours.
3 weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll take you forever. Whereas I'm like, okay, I'll just get it done.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have real questions. I mean, I'm not used to having real questions on a podcast.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about that, but what are some benefits you think people don't think about if they're looking to do that? Or what are things that, you've talked about like prioritizing and stuff, but if it's just like a regular person, now they're back in their office, is some of it like kind of managing your kids, like what they're seeing, what they're
You can
doing?
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this depends on, we're very specific, and the model I've set forth is kind of tailored to the user. So we
Yeah.
meet people where they are with their technology.
Okay.
What I mean by that is everybody's got some kind of smart technology. Whether somebody
yeah.
gave them a speaker or something, they halfway use it, and they've got a beginning point. I will ask them to standardize so I can continue to support you, which is something we can get to later.
Yeah.
Because smart homes need maintenance. They break.
Yeah.
Break all the time. And so you need maintenance on that. But it's to take that Alexa speaker and turn it into a whole home system.
Yeah.
All right. So meeting your point earlier of all these wealthy people have these custom systems where you touch a panel. Well, not everybody can afford that.
Right.
Those are very expensive. We can do those as well. All right. We do closed systems where they don't touch the internet because some people don't like that.
Oh, okay.
Totally understand that. So we can build your own ecosystem and feed it with your own data that you supply that doesn't touch the internet unless you want us to come in to help you support it. And then
Okay.
we close that. But for the most people, they have either an Apple device,
Yeah.
an Alexa device, a Google device.
Yeah.
And so we interview them very thoroughly on what they have and what they're using, and then build a plan around them to help them do other things. Usually it's better Wi-Fi and video. And then we drop a small nugget on how you can take that further.
Okay.
Because you can't do it all at once. It is expensive if you do it all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are people that you like work in phases with. Like phase 1, we're going to do this. Then we're going to come back in 3 months and we're going to do this.
Everybody gets phases. You cannot do it all in one.
Okay.
It takes an incredible amount of time to set things up and configure them. So unless you want me at your house and living with you,
Yeah.
then we'll break it in phases because it takes more time than people realize to set that up.
Do you also, this is a weird one, do you undersell people? Do you tell people, like, you don't need all that? Like, they're wanting every bell and whistle, and you're like, you don't need that. You don't need, like, I can take your money happily, but you don't need that.
Great question. We made one learning, let me rephrase it. We made one learning decision.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had a customer that says, yeah, I want everything. And they opened up the Google page book and said, I want all that, all of it. We're like, okay. And we tried to do all of it without telling him how that would be deployed or setting those expectations.
Yeah.
So we allocated a weekend, Saturday, Sunday being there, and we were only partway finished and did not tell him that it should happen in phase. That's something we had to learn how to do. That was early on.
Yeah.
Because everybody has to go in phases. You cannot roll it all out at once and expect it to have success long term. We want people to use the technology,
Yeah.
right, and improve their lifestyle, and we want people to understand it.
Yeah.
And you can't throw all that at them and say, all right, then they have a million questions. Well, can it do this? Well, yeah, it can do whatever you want it to do. And are you going to pay me to sit here all day and to go through all these? It was a real eye-opening experience of how to phase everybody in. So the first phase, we reset the network. It's solid. It's wired. You've got a solid infrastructure. If you're getting, 1,000 megs in from your internet service provider, we're going to make sure that's proliferated throughout the whole home.
Yeah.
Step one. And then we'll add on a phase like whole home audio or video surveillance or access control, which is door locks.
Okay.
And we'll do those in phases until you learn how to use that. And then at the end of it, when you have multiple systems, it's great. I use it all the time. I mean, I've got a small farm, and I'm in and out all the time, multiple doors. So the best thing I do, and my wife loves, which is my beta tester, she wanted to know if it's something she could sit in bed and do from her phone, because she doesn't like using voice. And I said, it'll do everything but bring you a glass of wine, and I'm working on that. I'm working on that part. There's a new robot that has a tray.
That's phase 37.
It's phase 37.
Yeah.
But locking all the doors.
Yeah.
Okay, I just left. Can I lock my doors? Yeah, you can talk right to in your vehicle leaving and lock all the doors. Or give it a command on the way out. Hey, Google, I'm leaving. Boom. Locks the doors, shuts all the lights off, kicks the AC into eco mode.
Yeah.
And it's geographically like fenced to where if it detects you within 5 miles or whatever, it'll crank back up to get it back up to temperature.
Yeah, that was another thing that I found out about a few years ago, where it was like, oh yeah, if I come within 30 miles of my house, like I've been away on vacation, I was like, man, I went on vacation one time and cut my heat off because it was like December. It's like, I'm not going to pay for the heat to be on for 10 days while I'm gone. Got home and it was 52 degrees in my house. I was like, shit. I should have called my dad. This was years ago. I was like, I should call my dad and say, can you come over and
It takes a while to get back up.
turn the heat back
and that
on?
takes energy too. So
Yeah.
it coordinates with fans and the blower in order not to use. And our utility bill dropped in half. It's a real deal.
That's
There's
crazy.
real savings there.
Do you do curtains?
We do curtains and we do smart windows.
What is,
So windows, there's certain people stylistically, they don't like the shades or curtains they like the big, large open windows, lots of glass. What does that mean? Well, hot as shit in the summertime.
yeah.
So the actual glass will frost over to tint, much like glasses do. I forget what they call those glasses, but you walk outside and they get darker.
It's like the bathrooms in, was it Japan, where they're public restrooms, and the minute you lock the door, the glass frosts over to where you can't see inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So we trying to push people to that, and we work with a lot of people who are building or remodeling. So we're like, get us in on that floor level to talk to those contractors about your plan, because this is the time to do it. Retrofitting is an option. We do a lot, but it's more expensive. If you're building, it's a great time to build with smart technology at the forefront, right?
Are there contractors or architects that think enough to call you all on the front end and like, hey, we're doing this building downtown and we want to do this? Or is there still some reticence from them that they're not thinking
No, I
about?
pushed them. That's the
Okay.
first thing I wanted to do was, one of the reasons I started the company is I'm a great salesman, and that comes from the many things we talked about in the
Yeah.
hour previous, right? I know that world very well. But one of the things that comes with that is a box of just a salesman, right? And never to be considered for higher end thinking as far as strategic and
Yeah.
how to go after things, and be like, yeah, that's a good idea, and I'll take it and go somewhere else. What I reached out to architecture firms first, and I said, hey, when you start building, start introducing this concept early on,
Yeah.
and I would like to know the feedback you get from your customers. And it was a lot of, is their budget, their pricing got squeezed out at the end, but I'm getting a lot of those. So we not only do smart home, high-end residential or whatever residential, everybody
Yeah.
can get a smart home. I've come to find out that the demographic I was chasing has changed. I
Yeah.
got some old people that I got, and I'm sitting them down, and they say, how do you stream? I'm like, oh, chow. How much time I got? Put another pot of coffee on, right? Let's set you up right
Yeah.
for success. And that's a big thing too. It seems like second nature to us.
Yeah.
But if you have the opportunity to do it right, I want that streaming experience to be the same on every TV you have.
Yeah.
And that means don't go to Costco and pick out the cheapest TV, the biggest, cheapest TV, because it's
Yeah.
going to look like that. And then buy something different, because they're all going to have different players embedded. You can either...
I was so happy that I have two TVs, and I went into one and let me think about the nice way to put this. My mom came over and we watched a movie on HBO Max, and when she left, she didn't log out, so I still have it. And I went into the bedroom. I was like, "Damn it! I really want to watch this, but it's on HBO Max, and I haven't logged in on this TV." And because I have the same TV on the same wireless network, it auto-logged me in. I was like, thank God technology has finally caught up to what it should be.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be a pain in the ass.
It shouldn't be.
No.
And they're making it easy for you. They want you to do that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these smart TVs are so cheap, because they have all that stuff embedded and they're paid to do that.
Yeah.
Problem is the embedded players aren't strong enough to give you the response you need. So, for instance, when we do a smart house and I tell a TV what I want to watch, it doesn't have the processing power natively to process that quickly.
Yeah.
You might as well pick up a remote.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want people to do. At the end of all of our installs, I take all the batteries out of your remotes and I hide them. You're not allowed to use it. I'm going to force you to talk to your house.
Yeah.
Okay? Trust me. Just go start talking to it. It'll either tell you can or can't do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes we use dongles because we want that experience to be the same on every TV, whether it's Roku or Chromecast or Apple TV. Just do them all the same. You don't have to buy the same TV. Just put a dongle on every TV so that when you want to watch what you want to watch on demand, it's the same experience everywhere.
Yeah. Talked a little bit about this, but maybe expound upon this. What is the learning curve on getting people to understand that you can make these systems secure? Because I would assume that would be a big struggle point for a lot of people, worrying about that.
The people who acquire our services, it's not a
They know
thing with
enough.
them.
Okay.
I'm prepared for that, and so we already have them ready for that.
Yeah.
So I do things for people, even though their initial ask may be something simple. I do a good job of explaining why you need to do more at this time.
Right.
So even though you may have a mesh system here, I will maybe replace that with the one that I support, because you're going to call me when it doesn't work.
Right.
And it has to be the same, some kind of standardization, so I know what to tell you.
Right.
The way we wire it, everything is exactly the same, so I can coach you over the phone Because it costs me money, it costs you time for me to come down here. Say we do a thermostat in the middle of winter and it doesn't work
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not coming down here.
No.
Okay. So we're going to make sure it's right, one, and we're going to make sure every installation gets a smart home security device.
Yeah.
And they may not understand it, may not understand the costs, may not fully utilize all the features, but when they're ready, it's already there. One thing
Okay.
I hate is going back to somebody and doing what's called a forklift upgrade. It's like, oh, you want to do this now? Now we got to take out all the stuff they put in and put in something bigger.
Yeah.
So I'd go ahead and prep them for that on the initial install.
Is there, because I know gigabit is a huge thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to coach people on maybe upgrading their internet intake?
Yeah.
Intake, I guess, is the best term. The level they have when they're getting something like this.
Most of our resources are spent with what we call ISP negotiation or auditing. So that's Internet Service Provider. And so a lot of people who get our services are older, right?
Yeah.
Because, they're tired of asking their children to help them, their children, give them my services for Christmas presents.
That's awesome.
And I'm happy to do it because we've got the patience and we have a good way of explaining it to where they understand the
Yeah.
technology without being too techy, right?
Yeah.
We have a good waterfall theory that everybody seems to understand how the internet flows. And so when they do that, we coach them on, if you ever want these services, they're there. We're going to go ahead and put the firewall in. This protects you from any outside threat. So if you're ever worried about somebody looking at your cameras
Yeah.
or taking over your system, this firewall is like a big deadbolt to your network. We put it in line with the service provider. It also measures their performance. And one of our success pictures at every install is taking a bunch of Comcast or Spectrum or Charter equipment back to the store. Here's your stuff back.
Yeah.
We don't need your modem. We don't need your TVs. We put in a modem that they've purchased, no more monthly rental fees, and we're streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
They hate us. We have to take our shirts off to go in the store because they start hating us.
so. I will say. So it's funny. My mom worked for the phone company for 31 years, and she has been retired for a while. But man, anytime she has to call Comcast, they have to hate her because she worked for the phone company and knows how to talk and knows how to get what she needs.
Yeah.
And you're going to do what she needs to do. And it's hilarious because she's this very sweet Southern lady, but is very cutting and very like, no, honey, you're
Yeah.
going to do this because I need this.
Yeah.
And it's just like hilarious.
It's those key phrases.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to get anything if you're angry. They're just not.
on the podcast behind you. There's two cats.
Oh, hello. Two?
Hey guys, where the hell did you all come from? Watch out for the rabbits and the groundhogs.
You're never going to get what you want from those companies calling them after a problem reactively, angry like that. So the first thing we do is examine your billing and your login to your ISP. We got to start there. That's where it all starts. We can't do anything without understanding that.
Right.
Even some places that, some wealthy people live, they don't have good internet service. You
Yeah.
got 25 meg. We're like, okay, it's not the end of the world, but I will make sure you get the 25 meg everywhere.
Yeah.
Exact same. Because what you're going to do is you're going to lose that as you bounce it with a wireless mesh.
Yeah.
But if we come in and do some pre-wire, we can make sure at least you get what you're paying for everywhere.
Right.
And fully utilize that through traffic shaping and a couple other techniques. But we do that a lot. And we usually get people, the last couple we did had not looked at their internet bill for 20 years. Wow. And they were paying $300 for 25 megs.
Gee.
And we got them down to $100 for 600 megs just by being polite to them on the phone.
Yeah.
It took 3 trips. It was water the line. It was a lot of stuff. But, we charge for our time to do that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's worth it because we can pull that stuff out of them.
Yeah.
We know how to talk to them in the way they'll give you stuff. It's it's a lot of time. People don't have the time to deal with it.
Yeah.
To put you in your name and your code and have somebody else pass you over. We already know who's in the area, and there's other people that are available, Elon Musk,
Yeah.
and there's more options. There's a big movement by the federal government to get broadband and high-speed internet everywhere.
Yeah.
They know it's coming. They're doing work everywhere to get it done. Oh, she's popping a squat over there.
Oh, she's.
That's the outdoor kitty litter box.
Oh, that's a bunch of tree limbs that came down in the last storm. So
It's perfect. Yeah, she's done.
maybe that's when I. Here's a little TMI. When I mowed, I could smell poop when I mowed, and now I know where that cat. I thought it was a dog. Apparently, it was the
You
cat.
mowing and go, did I eat asparagus last night?
It was bad, and it was right up there. So it's you little bastard.
She's marking her little spot.
Yeah, the other one's just chilling back here. So even going backwards, are you a person that sets like goals and checklists for yourself before you even begin?
You know, we are currently in the recent cohort of 100 Knocks. I don't know if you're familiar with that program.
Yeah.
So we're going through that right now. I think we're in week 3, 4.
Okay.
And it's a 5-week sprint to grow minority-owned entrepreneurship in Knoxville by $10 million, right?
Yeah.
And it's been good. Because
Yeah.
it started off really fruity to tooty, and I know all the people that are in my class, and we got right to the hard stuff and
Yeah.
arguments real quick, just to make use of the time. Look, I got an hour out of the day. We let's get down to what's really happening.
Yeah.
And one of those things is, as a salesperson first, that's the way my meter goes. So I know that sales fuels everything, right? You got to
Right.
have sales to have it. There's no sense in having a mousetrap if nobody knows about it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of
I got to do a side. I bid on doing a brand for a company, and they had 3 different people come in there, and I was the last one, and part of mine was PR. And they were like, you're the only person that has PR in here. I was like, so y'all are going to pay me $25,000 to develop you a new brand, and you're not going to tell anybody? Why would you ever do that?
yeah,
And they're like, yeah, but it's just a new logo. I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
it's a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? You don't pay anybody and stay quiet about it. You got to talk, man. Because otherwise, nobody cares.
You got to have buy-in. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
I hug all my customers. There's handshakes. I hug, I kiss. You know, we're buying into this. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that you know that we're buying a new car and not getting a new transmission, right?
Right.
So our ideal customer is somebody who's open to the fact of, tell me what I got to do. We're in the do-it-for-me business. I'm
Okay.
not interested in somebody who goes, oh, I can do this myself. Well, go for it. You have your wife call me when you fuck everything up.
Yeah.
You know, and then it'll be a different price point. But I like people that are in alignment to what we're offering, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't get a whole lot of pushback when we know how far to push people,
Yeah.
and we have these cycles, right? So I'll do this install, and I have a follow-up period with you that I know, all right, now we're comfortable with what we did. Now we're ready for the next level of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap. It's expensive, right?
Yeah.
I hope that answered the question.
And I'm realizing as a good host, I should go back and say, while I know what 100 Knocks is, maybe I need to get other people, maybe I need to get you to explain it so people listening, because there's probably somebody, as one of my favorite comedians like to say, sitting at home shouting at their ham radio that
Yeah.
you didn't let them explain.
What's the
something-
score?
Yeah, what's
the score?
Yeah, what is 100 Knocks? So that's also my favorite podcast, Never Not Funny. That's a running joke on there is the host will say, now, obviously, I know what that is, but can you explain it to these when he doesn't know what the hell it is? But he's also the one that
Now,
says,
obviously, I know
yeah,
that.
shouting at your ham radios. I pulled that from him, Jimmy Pardo. And I was like, oh, yeah, I should let you explain that because I'm sure there are people who have no idea. I nerd out on all that stuff.
Oh,
all
yeah,
the tech
it's
stuff.
great stuff, and thanks for wrangling that back in for me. 100 Knocks is a program that we here in Knoxville have adopted from Memphis. They actually started with 800 Memphis.
Okay.
And to put some meaning behind the acronyms there, it is a 5x5x5 program. We want to take 5 black entrepreneurs over a 5-week sprint and give them $5,000 at the end of that, in an effort to grow minority-owned business in Knoxville by $10 million in 10 years, or 5 years, excuse me, in 5 years. And so those numbers have been adjusted for Knoxville as they were for Memphis, but that's where it came from. And so it's led up by the Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. Startup Knox. There's a bunch of people involved in trying to help that. And so we're trying to launch people and help them clarify strategy, sales, goals, marketing, and interject them into spheres of influence that they wouldn't normally have access to, right?
Yeah. To make fun of some people in my city, when George Floyd happened, and all of a sudden there was a movement from white people, hey, we need to support black-owned businesses. The only thing they listed were restaurants and hairstylists. And I will go, I looked at it and I literally said to my phone, are you fucking kidding me? There's more than restaurants and hairstylists. What the heck? Who do I have to talk to?
Yeah.
To be like, that's great. Miss Jackie can use all the help she can get.
Yeah.
But there are other people doing other things.
There are many other people doing other things. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to find out more about it, just Google 100 Knox.
Yeah. Because Damon Rawls also started a website.
Knox by Black Knox.
Yes.
Yeah. The Knoxville Black Business Directory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I almost asked him, I was like, do you need help with design or website or stuff? I was like, maybe I shouldn't be the person. You got it, man. Maybe I shouldn't.
No,
be
it's not like that. Black is a descriptive term for a set of people that could be expanded upon for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exclude anybody either.
Yeah.
It's focused on a group that has been proportionally, disenfranchised from those opportunities.
Yeah.
For instance, we don't have that reach as, say, other circles do. So it helps open their eyes and be real with your hair salon or nothing wrong with that, because that's a recession-proof business.
Yeah.
As COVID taught you, try to go without a haircut for 2 years. See what happens.
Hey, now. I feel targeted in that sentiment.
See what happened with them haircut prices, too.
I got Dollar Shave Club, and I'm doing just fine.
So there's nothing, but there's more to that than just what you might see on TV or what you experience. But I understand you're frustrated. And there's a lot more entrepreneurship happening.
Yeah.
And it happens to happen because of COVID. People have time to sit still and think about what they want to do. And they say, I don't like this job. There's a mass exodus of employees. Okay.
Yeah.
People are vacating. All sorts of, it's topsy-turvy now. It's an employee-driven market. And so there's lots of entrepreneur coming out of it. Some will make it, some won't.
That's when it comes to my dad. I had to get him to change what he was saying from, he kept saying, nobody wants to work. I was like, no. I was like, Dad, and I explained to him like something Ryan said to me with the pedal company. He felt like he was competing with like Amazon. Amazon's willing to pay $18 an hour or whatever. But they kept jacking up that price. Like it started at $15 an hour. And he finally hit a point, he was like, guys, I can't afford to pay you that much, but coming in here, being able to put in a podcast or music and work on pedals as opposed to breaking your back, working for Amazon, not being able to pee, working 10-hour shifts. And I told that story to my dad. I was like, Dad, would you want to work for Amazon? He was like, hell no. He was a truck driver for 40 years. He's like, hell no, I wouldn't want to do that. I was like, that's the world we live in now. There are people saying, I would rather do something that I enjoy or that is lower impact for a little bit less money than have to kill myself.
Exactly, yeah. Like I said, COVID-19 is going to be a study for some very smart people to diagnose the many different,
how many PhD
ways.
papers are going to be written in the next 10 years?
It's wide open. I saw that. I go, man, there's going to be classes on this. Okay,
Yeah.
This is how something like that affects us, and these are the ripple effects you still see today. One of those is how people work.
Yeah. All right, before I get into the final question, Do you think there's anything I've missed? Because I know a certain amount, but I know there's a wealth of stuff I do not know.
Yeah, we could talk, and I'm loving this. Thanks for inviting me
Yeah.
on. I really like talking about this stuff. I'm passionate about it. I think something that makes us different is that, I studied our market analysis, right? And you got your Amazon out there, you got your do-it-yourselfers, you got Best Buy, you got Geek Squad, all these other people.
Neighborhood nerds and Sequoia Ales.
Yeah, what we do that's different is that we are going to invest the time to make it a success for you.
Right.
And we're going to interview, and every solution is very specific to that user. Right. So we come in, we do a home assessment, and we sit with you and talk with you and see what you're up to, what you got, what do you like? You like music,
Yeah.
And so our solutions are tailored to you.
Yeah.
So you're going to be happy. It is a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Now, as far as the smart stuff, yeah, there's some maintenance. I can't control what everybody's doing,
Yeah.
but we're going to
And
meet you.
technology is going to change.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to meet you at your level. We're not going to push something on you that's complicated, that you can't understand, that you can't self-service to an extent, right?
Yeah.
But that you will actually use on your day-to-day life that will improve your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Not some crazy, you need all this. Nope, we're going to listen to you. I like
Yeah.
music. Okay, let's put music everywhere you want it, where you want it, on demand.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Yeah. And we make those wires disappear for those wives who don't like all those cables and those complex setups.
Yeah.
It's just part of the house. You don't even see the technology.
Yeah.
You're just talking, and where the hell did that come from? We are ninjas when it comes to that, to hiding it.
Okay, so the final question is, do you know what you would like to do in the next 10 years? Or do you... Yeah.
Yeah, I love the brand of Purple Mouse Smart House. I was searching for something to do with my talents for a long time in many different little pockets, right? And this became evident as far as where I was in my life and, with your chances to do it. I'm always a big continual education guy. I don't think you should stop learning or anything like that. So I don't think it's too late ever to do anything. But what I'm in right now is a young man game. It's an entrepreneurial game, right? So I would like to grow this brand to be available to everybody, to franchise it in such a way that it is still key to our core beliefs of making it a unique personal touch to everybody without watering it down like a franchise normally would.
Yeah.
So there's the analogy I use all the time. Yeah, everybody has a chicken sandwich. There's a reason there's a line at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be like.
Okay.
So I want everybody to get that personal experience and be able to kind of recommend and analyze business from afar, and not have to be. I'm hands on right now everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
There are two cats on my porch.
Yeah, they have been walking around here. George, PJ, George.
Hey George.
PJ, as long as they don't go in my tree.
Oh God, no.
If I knew George a little better, I would do like a TikTok example right now.
Oh.
It's the one that's going around.
No.
Hey, what's your name?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Heck you, George.
Have you seen there's a TikTok where what's your name? And
Yeah.
He was like, Kyle. He's like, fuck you, Kyle. He's like, what's your name? He's like, George. He's like, fuck you, George.
But if you'll let me get out of this suit, you're welcome to come tell me to fuck off.
See.
That was like sitting right there, but I don't know him that well.
Yeah, I remember. It's
Hey,
funny
George,
because
fuck
with
you, George.
with TikTok, I'm like, wow, that was like 3 months ago, and I'd already kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
way stuff changes so much. We had a cat climb up in his tree and could not get out of, and I posted about it online, and one of my friends works for the city doing trees. And he was like, give me 10 minutes and I'll be over there.
Oh,
And he
my
got it
gosh.
down. And it was just like, because I posted online because I'm friends with some firefighters. I was like, hey, do you all that's the joke. You get cats out of trees, man. They're like, no, we don't do that shit. We're not going to risk ourselves getting hurt. I was like, all right, Kevin. All right, Faddis.
Oops, I thought that was an ashtray. That's all good.
Okay. See, now my goal for you is to install a system in Blaine or in Granger County.
In Granger County?
Go
So,
back to the...
I'm going out there
Oh, yeah.
to Brown Road.
Oh, my God.
But
Okay.
if you ever know anything about Brown Road, while I was living out there, that name was conducive to what was out there.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And my cousin, which I'm married to a white woman, and so now I'm interracial, but he's my cousin now, lives on Brown Road. And
Okay.
he has a farm, and that's why you never know who needs this stuff.
Yeah.
He needs to be able to keep an eye on his property when he's not there. He wants to travel.
Yeah.
You got no internet. You got no infrastructure. Can you come set up some cameras out here
Yeah.
in the boonies, in the trees, to keep an eye on my horses
Yeah.
to make sure they're not like entangled up or anything like that? I said,
Yeah.
let me look at it. And he also does our marketing. He did a good job with
Okay.
our marketing materials, which are purple.
See, all I'm thinking, I am not a salesperson. I am awful at sales. I'm always like, here's my work.
Yeah.
If I am good enough, you will work
What
for
would
me.
you think
Yeah,
you would pay
yeah.
for something like that?
Oh, yeah, I've gotten... I almost am going to have a younger designer on the podcast because she wrote a blog about... She's like, I think you should be transparent and you should just post your rates online, and here's how much it costs for a 4-page website, and here's how much it costs for... It's like, no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't do any of that.
That's not true. You're
It's
gonna
not
end
the
up adjusting
same.
it. Yeah.
It's not the same. It's different for every person. It's like, and I have to tonight. I have to quote out on a website, and I was like, I'm not going to charge that guy a crazy amount of money because he doesn't need that.
Yeah.
He needs a small website so he can get certified. This is a weird thing. You actually know this person. I will not say his name, but I will say he co-owns a company that may deal in mid-mod furniture.
Yeah. Okay.
And to get certified worldwide, there's only 6 people certified worldwide to do a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to get certified and recognized, he has to have a website. So he is me bidding to build that for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to charge him a crazy amount of money because he doesn't need a crazy website. He needs something that shows his work, tells what it is. Very simple.
Mimic what they're doing, in Instagram. That's
Yeah.
been working so far. Here's the key to sales that I love. Sales has got a bad, it's got a bad stigma behind it.
Yeah.
That if you come in here for a Toyota Camry, I'm going to sell you a Corvette.
Yeah.
I just sold you something, and that's horrible. All right. And so salespeople like myself love the sales process because it's fulfilling, because you're actually getting somebody what they need and they're happy.
Right.
So you got to listen intently to what people are asking you for and give them that and advise them on what they may not know.
Yeah.
That's the upsell.
Right.
And you got to do that in a way where they don't feel like you're trying to push them. But hey, instead of me telling you this when I come back, I'm going to tell you this up front.
Yeah.
You just got married. Don't buy a Miata. Go ahead and buy a station wagon. You're
Yeah.
going to have some babies, right?
Yeah.
That's all it's about. That's all it's about. Listen to people, and then you transfer from sitting on the opposite side of the table to sitting on the same side of the table.
Yeah.
Like we are going to make this decision together. This is what we should do,
Yeah.
right? Based on what you told me, this is what we should do. I do this in my own house. I eat my own dog food, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Think that's good. Thank you for being on.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.